are going to look at Luke's account of this event that we celebrate today. The week that changed your life is all about the story of Jesus from the Friday before the week. Then Palm Sunday, we talked about that. We talked about Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, and today is Sunday. And this event, above all the others, is the event that reshaped the world. That Jesus died for our sins, we'll get into that in just a moment, is glorious. But that He lives again, and that He lives in a place where we go when we don't live anymore, is the very best news we could ever hear. That the enmity and the strife and the distance that existed between God and humanity has now been closed, and we now have access to the Father through the Son. That's the good news. I hate to use this as an illustration, but because so many people were injured, but the earthquake in Chile about a month and a half ago did tremendous damage, of course. But it was the fourth most powerful earthquake that had ever been registered. 8.5 something, which is a massive jolt to the planet. A couple days later, scientists figured out that this kind of power and energy and the jolt to the planet actually moved the Earth off its normal axis by 3 centimeters. Just 3. But still think of the power that was needed, that was generated by this one shock to send the world, this planet, in a slightly different course, to change the rotation, the angle of rotation, to change the globe and create essentially a different kind of world. Now, analogously, when Jesus was raised from the dead, that's exactly what happened. There was a spiritual earthquake through the entire cosmos. God had never done this before. Jesus, no one had ever done this before or since. This was not like the other times in the Scriptures where people were raised from the dead, where Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. He would die again. Or the little girl that He raised in Mark chapter 2, Talitha, she would die again. Or the little boy at Nain that Jesus raised from the dead, he would die again. But God did something here that essentially changed an access point, changed the rotation of the new world. And through this invitation, I'm going to tell you how, but through this invitation invites all people into a new kind of relationship with His Son. That's the whole message of Easter. And I need to talk to you about what was the purpose of Jesus coming here anyway, what He did on the cross, and then how it's possible for you and I to join Him in this new world, this new order that He has created through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. It's a hard thing to talk about because it is so big, so lofty. And I frankly want to say something to you right now. I won't be able to finish this sermon for 6 weeks. Okay? It's going to take me 1 week today, but then 5 more weeks coming after this, every Sunday, to talk about what it means to have a changed heart, a changed mind. I'll explain what the resurrection is. I'll explain the promise that it holds out. But it's going to take me a long time to get through Colossians chapter 3, and I invite you back simply to be part of that as we look deeply into what the inspired word has to say about this new life, the changed life that is ours through the resurrection. But so I need to tell you what Jesus was doing anyway when He came. You know the story, that He came down, a perfect man, perfect God, but I need to sort of make sure that we're all on the same page on this. So I have an illustration. My daughter Elizabeth, who's 22 now, and graduated from college just 3 or 4 months ago, is living in Austin, and she doesn't have a job yet. She is interning at a place to get some experience. And she lives with 2 other guys. Now, don't get me started on that part of it, okay? That isn't something that my generation would have done, but this happens all the time. There's no romantic interest. She actually lives with 3 other guys. 2 of them are in rooms, and 1 guy's living in a tent out in the backyard. So it's a bizarre story, but they just moved from another place. And the other place that they moved from was filled with rats. And all their food in pantries and in the cupboards was being infiltrated and eaten by rats. And I've got to hand it to my daughter. She handled the whole thing. She sat down with the leasing agent, with the realtor, with the owner, and negotiated a severance, said this is wrong, and they moved to a different place. But because the rats had been everywhere, they left their food. They either threw it away or left it in the cabinets. So I'm talking to her last week, and I say to her, Liz, we're just chatting, and I said, so what kind of meals are you cooking in your new kitchen? She said, we haven't eaten anything. I said, how come? She said, Dad, we don't have any food. I said, well, where's the food? Well, we left it at the other place, or we threw it away. I said, wait a minute, you don't have any mustard? No. Ketchup? No. Onions? No. Tuna fish? No. Nothing. Pickles? Nothing. None of what flour, sugar, forget it. Nothing. And I said to her, well, go buy some. Go buy some food. And she said, Dad, none of us have any money. And my heart broke, of course, and I said, well, Liz, you've got our credit card. Go to Walmart and just buy what you need. She said, I don't know what we need. Well, buy everything that a cupboard should have. And she said, I wouldn't even know where to start. So we finished our conversation and hung up the phone, and later that night, Fran and I had some quiet time, and I said to Fran, you must go down, you know. And she said, yeah, I know. And so she arranged some things the next day, and she went down. She called me when she got there and said, they have nothing. They have a rack of spices, that's it. And so she and Elizabeth went to the Walmart and Target. I don't want to leave anybody out, okay? They went Walmart, Target, all the places to buy all their staples. All the wonderful stores, every one of them they went to. And they unloaded it, stocked the shelves, and then they called me. And the kids were having a great time. They were cooking omelets and frying bacon and making French toast and pouring orange juice and things like that. And I said to Fran, how'd it go? And she said, it went great. We got everything. And I said, how much did it cost? And she said, don't ask. And so now I'm going to ask the ushers to come forward for a very special offering. No, but what happened was that they had nothing. It was a problem through circumstances, through their own, doing, that they had nothing. And what's a parent to do? Do you sit there and say, well, you should have planned better? Do you sit there and rub their nose in it? Unconditional love would tell us that a father and a mother would decide, we have to go. And that's exactly what God did in our case. He saw that we had nothing, that we were an empty shell. Our soul was broken. There was a bitterness. There was an emptiness inside of us. And He sent His Son unconditionally to pay the full price to come into our world. And that moment that you see Jesus on the cross in your mind, or you see him at the rock of agony on Thursday night in the garden praying that the cup would pass him by, and when he sweats, it's like drops of blood. Those moments are the passion of Jesus Christ when he is essentially, emotionally, spiritually taking on the sins of the whole world.
We thank you for joining us online. The ministries of Christ Church Plano are made possible by generous contributions from our members and viewers. If you have found this sermon meaningful and would like to make a gift of support, please visit christchurchplano.org/give. Thank you.